be incorrect. So some of the bad entries that you'll see typically spur from a lack of communication or a lack of commitment. A bad entry would be one where the number one guy decides he's going to make entry into this room, and as he does so, he's so aggressive, he comes in, he scans the room, and then he bolts right back out, missing everything that's in here. All right, he's got his mind on, he's running 1,000 miles an hour, and his mind's only able to run about 100. So he's missing things. The next one is going to be a lack of commitment. So the number one guy gets ready to come in, he's made his communication with his team, and he gets right in that threshold and he stops short of making entry. So now he's got everybody behind him waiting, and where is one of the areas that we have to fight? In the threshold. What do you not have in the threshold? Space to move. What did each one of you have whenever you opened your eyes with your finger pointed at that door? A line of sight, line of fire. Threshold, bad place to be. You got to be committed. You got to come into the room. Third is going to be a lack of commitment on your number two guy or failure to communicate. So the number one guy has made his head nod. He's ready to go. He comes into the room and he's standing here all by his onesies while the number two guy is talking to the number three guy trying to figure out what they're supposed to do next. That's a bad situation. You're in here all by yourself. And then finally, a lack of communication would be if the number one guy and the number two guy make a head nod at the same time and they both try to make entry at the same time and you get all tangled up in each other's gear, standing in the doorway. Now you got two targets as opposed to one. All right? So those are some bad ideas, bad scenarios, lack of communication, lack of commitment. Speed, again, we talked about only as fast as you can think and shoot. What are some of the things that we can work on for speed? What can we train if we can't get to trainings like this all the time? You go to the range. You go to the range and you do moving and firing at the same time. You work on the things that you recognize are elements that could make you have the advantage in a firefight, especially when you're on the move. Those are things that you can work on. And then scanning for a threat. Some of the problems that we'll run into is you'll get in a room that has multiple people in it, and only one of them is a bad guy, and you've got to quickly be able to assess which one that is. So practicing that can be something as simple as going to the mall, to the supermarket or whatever, looking at people and doing a quick assessment of everybody that you see. Play that what-if game. I advocate that with any of the academies I teach. Play the what-if game. Any scenario that you find yourself in, benign, pretend that it wasn't. And on your way from that scene, pretend that you had a bad situation. What would you have done? What could you have done that would have given you the advantage? So types of entries. Everything that we've taught today has been based on the KISS principle, to keep it simple, stupid. We advocate for that because not all of us have the opportunity to train on teams. Not all of us have the opportunity to train endlessly. We're all on a budget. We don't get this type of training all the time where we get to go out and have a cadre that comes in and teaches us. So we keep it simple so that the person that just comes out of the academy can conceive these principles and everyone can communicate and execute on the same level playing field. We're going to talk about going to the known, the unknown, and a hybrid method. We're going to illustrate that in a minute, but some of the things that I want you to consider again on entry into the room is your body positioning. Staying about 4 to 6 feet inside the room, not over penetrating. Staying about 30 inches off the wall. Why would we stay 30 inches off the wall? Ricochet. And then any follow-on units that you might have coming in might not have an avenue to get around you, so they got at least some place to go. Once we get in the room, we're going to establish a point of domination. That's our POD, where we're going to stand. We're going to fight, hold our ground. When you come in and you establish that position of dominance, you're not going to move from it. You're not going to move from it until the entire team is aware of what your intentions are. That way you eliminate the chance of crossfire or someone moving into a line of fire. You're communicating that before you ever come off of that POD. You want to talk about your intersecting fields of fire. They want to be intersecting to the point where if I'm this guy, I've got this room from here all the way until I see about 30 inches off of the person to my right or left.